Hello everyone and welcome back to another election analysis video. But before we start, I would really appreciate you guys stopping and taking the time to help me grow my platform and subscribing. Anyways, today we're going to be going over Kamala Harris's presidential campaign and her perceived gain in momentum against her Republican opponent Donald Trump. And you guys are probably wondering why we're having this conversation, since many people are betting that this presidential election is a dead heat with both candidates at around a 50-50% chance of winning. But I do think it's fair to ask the question of whether or not Kamala Harris can have a landslide, because she is gaining in the polls and getting very close to Trump in many of the key swing states, and is putting states in contention we didn't even think would be possible. If you look at the Texas Tribune, we can see in this poll that Harris is streaking Trump's lead to around 5 points, and she's also helping down ballot Democrats, with Democratic Senate candidate Colin Allred getting within 2 points of Ted Cruz according to this poll. You can also see that Trump has even suggested that he might not even show up to the presidential debate in September. And if Harris ends up showing up to debate against an empty podium, it's going to be very hard to see how Donald Trump recovers at all. Anyways, we have this electoral map filled out right here, and we're going to go through each of the blank toss-up states one by one to figure out if Kamala Harris has a chance of taking it and whether or not she can get above 400 electoral votes. And if you guys are wondering how much I can conceive it to be possible for a state to swing from one election cycle, I'm going to use the 2020 election page and go down to the results page and look for the state that swung the most. And we can see here that, okay, while there is one state that swung by 9 percentage points, Vermont, part of the reason that is because a Bernie Sanders writing campaign took a bunch of votes from Hillary Clinton in 2016, so I'm not going to include that. So instead, I'm going to go to the next state, Colorado, and we can see here that it swung by around 8 points in 2020. So that's what I conceive to be the limit in this day and age. And it might honestly even be less, since there's so much more polarization now in 2024 compared to 2020. But anyways, we're going to go to the map and we're going to swing each state to the left by around 8 points and see if it'll flip to Kamala Harris. And if you guys are wondering how I classified states as safe in my election map, I am using the 538 election model, and I am considering the states that are projected to go to their winning candidate by more than 10 points as quote-unquote safe, which is why you don't see states like New Mexico as filled out already, because 538 only has the state going to Kamala Harris by only 10 points flat. But obviously we know which candidate that state is going to vote for, so let's stop wasting time. Anyways, let's go on to the other states. Now, obviously, we'll give Kamala Harris the states that Joe Biden won last time. So obviously, she takes the state of Minnesota. I mean, it would be very surprising if she didn't take it, because her vice president candidate is literally the governor there. And also, we'll give her Maine, since she and Joe Biden won that in 2020. And we'll also give her the big 7 swing states she won in 2020 as well. And even though I'm going to give her Georgia, I do feel it worth noting that I do expect Georgia to be the farthest right state out of all of the big 7 swing states once the election happens in November. Oh, but I almost forgot to fill out Virginia. And even though they have a popular Republican governor, we're all pretty sure that it's going to go to Kamala Harris by at least 5 points or more. Now let's go on to the congressional districts. And last time, Joe Biden won the Nebraska congressional district by around 5%, and I do expect Harris to not only carry the congressional district, but also expand upon the lead Joe Biden had over Trump in 2020. And now we go on to the big question mark states of whether or not Harris can take these. And first, let's start with Maine's 2nd district. And the reason I'm going to start with Maine's 2nd district is because there was actually a poll that came out of Maine that had Kamala Harris beating Trump by 5%. So there is a universe where I do see Kamala Harris taking Maine's 2nd congressional district. So with these states, let's first start with Texas, the state I mentioned at the beginning of this video. And in Kamala Harris's best case scenario, I do see her taking and the reason I say that is because Texas is literally within 5 points according to this poll I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And 5 points is very easy to outperform, as we saw Trump do in 2020. And next we have Florida. And the reason I have Florida also flipping is because actually, according to 538's election model, Florida is projected to vote to the left of Texas by about 1.33 points. So it would be very surprising to me if Kamala Harris is able to take Texas, but not Florida. And now we have these two very question mark states, because these states actually voted for Donald Trump in 2020 by 8 points. And since I only conceive it feasible for states to swing 8% in either direction in this day and age, it's really hard for me to determine whether or not Kamala Harris can take it when the edge each candidate has in this scenario is essentially 0. But since these states are trending right from where they were in 2020, the states voted 10% to the right of the country in 2016, and they voted 12% to the right of the country in 2020. So since they're trending rightward compared to the rest of the nation, I'm going to play this video safe and put Iowa and Ohio in the Republican column. And there you have it. There is my best case scenario for Kamala Harris. But since I promised you guys what a 400 electoral electoral vote landslide would look like, I do think her pathway to 400 plus electoral votes would be through Ohio, since Ohio, according to 538's election model, is closer than Iowa according to their model. And I mean, it wouldn't be too crazy if Kamala Harris was able to win Ohio. I mean, Ohio literally has a popular Democratic senator who is running for re-election this year and has been leading in every single poll this election cycle. So perhaps maybe Harris could get some reverse down ballot help from Sherrod Brown and maybe possibly take the state of Ohio in a best case scenario for her. But anyways, there you guys have it. Here's my best case scenario for Kamala Harris, 407 to 131 or 390 for Harris, depending on whether or not you include Ohio. I don't. But anyways, that's that. And thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you guys later.